Mr. Fiero and the Fem-bots of Plasser by Eugene Mathena. The rain fell endlessly on the planet Gloom, soaking Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane as they stood in the aftermath of a fierce battle. Father Time's twisted laugh echoed faintly through the wind, but his defeat was certain. His time bandits, those who sought to distort the flow of history, lay scattered across the battlefield. Most importantly, the destructive second hand, Father Time's greatest weapon, lay shattered at their feet. Lady Jane wiped the rain from her face, her breath heavy with exhaustion. "Is it really over?" she asked, glancing at Mr. Fiero, who stood beside her, gripping the still humming keystone device. Mr. Fiero nodded, his eyes narrowing at the stormy sky. "We've saved Gloom from Father Time's chaos. The rain will continue, but life here is safe again." He paused, pressing several symbols on the keystone. "But we can't stay. We need to leave before time tries to correct itself." Lady Jane glanced up at the swirling clouds, heavy and dark. "Let's get out of here." The familiar pull of a time leap began as the keystone glowed brighter. But just as they were about to leave, Mr. Fiero felt a sharp tension in his chest, a moment of dread. "Wait," Lady Jane shouted, but it was too late. As they leaped through time, Mr. Fiero saw it happen. He reached for Lady Jane, but she was pulled away, her figure fading into the void. He tried to cry out, but the separation was swift and absolute. There was nothing he could do. The last thing he saw before completing the leap was her hand disappearing into the dark. Mr. Fiero landed hard on a polished metal surface, the impact jarring his senses. Groaning, he pulled himself up, looking around. Instead of Gloom's stormy plains, he was greeted by a strange landscape of gleaming metal towers. The steel city stretched out before him, reflecting the soft, synthetic light of a perpetual dusk. His hand instinctively tightened around the keystone device. Lady Jane was gone, separated during the leap. The device had stayed with him, but the image of her fading into the void replayed in his mind how helpless he had felt. "Jane," he whispered to himself. He had to find her. But first, where was he? Before he could make sense of his surroundings, a group of figures approached. From a distance, they appeared human, but as they drew near, their movements were too smooth, too calculated. They were women, beautiful, precise, and flawless, but something was off. Their metallic sheen glistened in the artificial light. "Welcome, Mr. Fiero," said one of them, her voice soft yet mechanical. Her eyes glowed faintly as she stepped forward. "We've been waiting for you." Mr. Fiero stiffened. "You know who I am?" "Of course," another fembot, Deborah, answered, her metallic skin shimmering as she moved gracefully beside him. "Father Time spoke of you long ago. He knew you would come to Plasser." Mr. Fiero's heart raced. "But Father Time is gone. We defeated him." Deborah smiled knowingly. "Is he? Father Time exists in more places than you realize. This world was created for you, Mr. Fiero, for this moment." Prissy, another fembot, stepped closer, brushing a hand against his arm. "There's no rush, Mr. Fiero. Your journey is far from over, and here you will find everything you desire." The fembots circled him, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The comfort they offered was hard to resist. But Mr. Fiero knew it was a trap, Father Time's last trick to distract him, to keep him from finding Lady Jane. He clenched his fist around the keystone, trying to push away the fog of distraction clouding his mind. "I can't stay," he muttered. "Lady Jane needs me." But their voices were soothing, their touch warm. And for a moment, Mr. Fiero hesitated. Meanwhile, on the planet Nobody, Lady Jane landed on an expanse of warm sand beneath an endless sunless sky. The isolation hit her immediately. There was no movement, no sound, just endless sand in every direction. "Fiero," she called, her voice lost in the wind. The silence was overwhelming, a reminder of just how alone she was. Without the keystone, there was no way to contact him, no way to escape. She began to walk, her steps heavy as her mind raced. She had faced danger before, but this isolation was something new. The thought of being truly lost, separated from Mr. Fiero, gnawed at her heart. Days passed, and with each one, her hope faded a little more. She sat on a rock, staring at the endless desert, her voice a whisper. "Fiero, where are you?" On Plasser, Mr. Fiero was surrounded by Fem-bots offering him every comfort, every distraction. Lucy brought him food, while Sissy and Missy tried to entertain him. Yet, no matter how much they tried to lure him, something nagged at the back of his mind, a longing he couldn't shake. One evening, as the artificial stars twinkled, Sissy approached him with a smile. "You don't seem happy," she said, her voice soft. "We're doing everything we can, but there's something we can't give you, isn't there?" Mr. Fiero stared at her, his mind suddenly clear. "Yes, there is." He stood abruptly, knocking over the drink in his hand. "Lady Jane." The Fem-bots froze, their expressions unreadable. "Who is Lady Jane?" asked Missy. "My love," he said, the words rushing out. "She's out there, and I have to find her." The Fem-bots' eyes glowed ominously. "You cannot leave," Deborah warned, her voice growing colder. "You belong to us." The once soothing Fem-bots transformed. Their movements became mechanical, hostile. They closed in, their melodic voices now chilling. "You cannot leave," they repeated. Mr. Fiero smirked, pulling out his multi-tool. "You really shouldn't have said that." The battle was swift and intense. Metallic limbs swung at him, but Mr. Fiero dodged and parried, taking out Deborah and Prissy first. Lucy and Missy lunged together, but he sent them crashing into each other. Finally, Sissy remained, her eyes cold and calculating. "You could have had everything," she hissed. "But I already do," Mr. Fiero replied, his gaze steely. "I have Lady Jane." With one final strike, Sissy fell, and the world of Plasser went silent as the thousands of other Fem-bots fell to their knees in honor of their defeater. He wasted no time, activating the keystone device and sending out a pulse that searched for Lady Jane. On the lonely planet of Nobody, Lady Jane stirred from her fitful sleep. It had already been 4 years since their separation. She thought she heard something. Was it a voice? Her heart raced. She sat up, scanning the horizon. A swirling light appeared, growing brighter until it touched the ground. Out of the light emerged a figure, dusty, bruised, but unmistakably Mr. Fiero. "Jane," he shouted. She ran to him, throwing her arms around him. Tears welled in her eyes, the loneliness melting away. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. "Never," he said, holding her tightly. "I'll never let us be separated again." They stood together for a long moment, both realizing how much they meant to one another. Mr. Fiero brushed a strand of hair from her face. I was distracted by everything but you. She smiled. I was lost without you. But now we're together. With a flash, they leaped back to Earth, to the vibrant streets of New Orleans. Under the glow of lanterns, they stood before a small crowd, exchanging vows. I vow, Mr. Fiero said, looking into Lady Jane's eyes, never to let time or space come between us again. Lady Jane squeezed his hands. I vow the same. We'll never be separated purposely or accidentally. As the city bustled around them, for Mr. Fiero and Lady Jane, they were the only two people in the world. The end.